What's up everyone, Kamahl here, and welcome to another video. So, in this video today, what we're going to be doing is looking at the skills for the Druid in Diablo 4. Diablo 4 was just announced over the weekend, well I guess Friday, not really the weekend, so Friday, at BlizzCon. First day of BlizzCon, first thing they showed was Diablo 4. They were like, hey shit, fucking send this out first. Remember last year? Remember that Blitzchung thing? Let's, yeah, come on, Diablo 4, let's go, 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 go. They shuffled it out, first thing, sent out, and it looked great. The cinematic looked amazing. The gameplay looked pretty solid. I have mixed feeling towards it, but that's neither here nor there. That's for another video. We'll go over all that. In this one, we're just going to be looking at the skills and the talents that we are able to see right now on the Druid. So if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel if you want to support my work. All the links are down in the description below. Discord as well if you want to join the community. But let's get into it. So the first thing that we need to understand about the skills is your left click is going to be a generator, your right click is going to be a spender, and then your 1 through 4 are all going to be on a cooldown. The skill setup is much like Diablo 3. They said they're going to take a lot of the same combat type system from Diablo 3 and bring it over into Diablo 4, and it looks like they're going to be doing how the skills are set up as well. So let's look through them all and let's try to read them. So the first thing we have is Earth Spike. Earth Spike is a generator of 12 spirit, and it sunders the earth, impaling the first enemy hit for X amount of damage. Each time you hit an enemy with Earth Spike, your chance to deal a crushing blow to that target is increased by 10%, and then it says that it deals physical damage. So that's pretty good. Crushing blow, I'm assuming, is going to be more damage, essentially like a crit, much like it is in Diablo 2. The next one, Shred, which is a shape-shifting ability, generates 8 spirit, and it says shapeshift into a werewolf and shred an enemy dealing X damage, has a 30% chance to strike twice and deals physical damage. So it has a chance to double strike. That's pretty cool. I like that. I like that. I like the whole shape-shifting thing. The next one is Storm Strike, which is a storm magic ability that's going to generate 12 spirit. Electricity gathers around your weapon, dealing X damage split between your targets and up to 3 nearby enemies. So essentially an AoE hit that does up to 4 targets worth of damage. The next one is Maul, which is going to generate 18, which shapeshifts into a werebear and maul an enemy, dealing X damage and fortifying yourself for 15, which I believe fortify is like giving yourself either a bit of armor or a bit of life. Oh, it says right there, I should just keep reading. Characters take 30% decreased damage until all of their fortified life is removed. That's pretty cool. Next one is going to be Wind Shear, which is another storm magic, and it generates 12 spirit. I guess I could read it on the screen right here. Conjure a piercing blade of wind, dealing X damage, and increase your movement speed by 5% for 3 seconds, up to 30%. Maybe you can cast it multiple times and it increases it. I'm not sure. It doesn't really go too deep. So the next one is going to be your Spirit Spender. So these are going to be your right clicks. Pulverize, shapeshifting, spirit cost 30, shapeshifts into a werebear and slams the ground, dealing X amount of damage to nearby enemies. And then each rank it does more damage, physical damage. So the next one is going to be Earth Magic. It looks like you really have 3 different specs here with either Earth Magic, Storm Magic, or Shapeshifting Magic. So this one is the Earth Magic one, spirit cost of 30, crush an enemy between 3 pillars of earth, dealing X damage, has an additional 10% chance to deal a crushing blow. I wish they gave us a description of what crushing blow was, but I'm sure we'll see it later on, and I'm sure it's the same thing, like crit. Next one is Tornado, which is another storm magic. It is 20. I'm assuming it's going to be Tornado, much like in Diablo 2. Conjure a vortex that moves outward and curves in a random direction, dealing X amount of damage every second. So yeah, that one was very powerful in Diablo 2. Very random in its pathing, but very, very good. So in the number 1 slot. These are going to be your defensive abilities. So, first one, Cyclone Armor, which is Storm Magic, says powerful winds protect you, granting 15 ranged damage reduction. When an enemy in melee range hits you, there's up to a 15% chance for the winds to knock it back. It's pretty cool. That knockback ability, it's nice. I like knockback. The next one is Earth Magic with Earthen Bulwark. Has a cooldown of 15 seconds. I'm imagining that's what that is. Rocks surround you for 3 seconds, making you unstoppable and absorbing up to 77. Upon expiration, the rocks shatter, dealing 102% of the shield remaining amount to nearby enemies. That's pretty nice, potentially. The next one is a Trample, which is a shape-shifting ability. Rush forward as a werebear, dealing X amount of damage to and stunning enemies for 1.6 seconds. And as you level up, it looks like it increases both the stun duration and the damage. So that's pretty nice. It's always good to have increased stun duration as you level up a skill. It always makes it much more useful. I mean, stun duration is usually pretty low, and then if it's one that you can build up the stun duration, it's usually one to focus on. Alright, Debilitating Roar. Cooldown of 20 seconds. Shapeshifts into a werebear. And Bellow with Ferocity, reducing the attack speed of nearby enemies by 22% for 5 seconds. That's pretty good, but I don't know if it would really be better than Trample. I mean, especially with how low the cooldown is on Trample. But let's carry on. Ravenous Bite is going to be the last option you have in the defensive abilities, and it shapeshifts into a werebear and tear an enemy's flesh for X amount of damage, and healing you for, it looks like, a little bit over double that damage, and deals physical damage. Now the next is going to be the number 2 ability, which is saying it is Wrath, which is aggressive. I would assume an aggressive type attack. And this first one's going to be Hurricane, which is Storm Magic. Form a hurricane around you that deals X amount of damage to nearby enemies over 8 seconds, and the cooldown is 15 seconds. The next one is Boulder, which is an Earth Magic, which is another cooldown, a very low cooldown of 8 seconds. Unearth a large rolling boulder that knocks back and crushes enemies, dealing X amount of damage with each hit. That's pretty good. If it can knock them back and hit them multiple times, that can be pretty good. And that one has an additional chance of 15% to deal a crushing blow. That's pretty good. Pretty good. I like that they kept the Vine Creepers. That was one of my favorite things in Diablo 2 with the Druid, was actually the Vine Creepers. The Poison Creepers, they're fucking good. They can output a lot of damage. Very, very useful. But let's see. So we have the Wolves, which is this is your companion tree. Your wolves have a cooldown of 8 seconds, and it summoned 2 wolf companions that bite enemies for X amount of damage, and these are the passives. And then you can activate them and direct the wolves to focus on an enemy, and the wolves have a 50% increased chance to critically strike that enemy. So the next one that you have is the Ravens. Ravens have a cooldown of 30 seconds, and the cooldown is of their active ability, because each of these pets you're going to be able to keep out at one time. I don't like that you only have one option of them, though. I don't think that's very cool. I think you should be able to have a lot more out, but we'll see if they give us the ability to move things around like they did in Diablo 3, which could open up a little bit more build diversity. But let's carry on. So this one, it summons ravens that fly around you and periodically attack your enemy for very low damage. And then on the activate, it's the target area is swarmed with ravens, and enemies take X amount of damage and suffer for vulnerability for 6 seconds. And vulnerability causes the enemies to take 30% increased damage until all of their vulnerability life is removed. So basically it takes a portion of their life, and for that much of their life, they take a bonus 30% damage. So that's potentially pretty good. The last one's going to be a Vine Creeper, and it's got a 15-second cooldown on its active ability, and this one is going to be a Vine Creeper periodically emerges from the ground and poisons an enemy for 8 seconds, and the poison is damage poison. And the active ability is the vines strangle enemies in a target area, poisoning them for X amount of damage over 6 seconds and stunning them for 2 seconds. So that's pretty cool. You're getting a stun and a damage over time. Potentially pretty useful. I could see uses with all of those companions. So the last tree, or the last skill option that we have, is for the ultimates. So with those, the first one we have Cataclysm, which is a storm magic with a 90-second cooldown, and it says a massive storm follows you for 10 seconds, tornadoes knock back enemies, and lightning strikes wildly for a very high amount of damage. The next one is going to be Grizzly Rage, which is a shape-shifting ability. And this one gives you a cooldown of 50 seconds, and it says shapeshifts into a werebear for 5 seconds. You are granted new werebear skills and generate spirit 28% faster, so that's potentially pretty decent. And it says you're unstoppable, which means, yeah, while unstoppable, controlling and pairing effects probably have no effect on you. It doesn't have the rest of it for me to read it. I'm just going to take a stab in the dark and say that it's something like that. So the last one, or the last option you have for your ultimate ability, is going to be Petrify, which is earth magic, and this one has another cooldown of 50 seconds. Petrify all nearby enemies, stunning them for 5 seconds. Damage breaks this effect and deals an additional X amount of damage. It's not too high, but it is, you know, it's nothing to scoff at. And then this has an additional 25% chance, or this skill has an additional 25% chance to deal a crushing blow. So that's going to be all the skills. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to switch over and we're going to look at the talent trees that they've shown us so far. So when we look at the talent trees, we really have two different options that you're going to go on. You're going to either follow over here for shapeshifting, or you're going to follow over here for the earth and the storm magic. It seems like the way that these skill trees are going to work is as you level up, you're going to fill them up, and when you're all the way done, you're going to have the full skill tree filled out, and you're going to pick from one of these ultimate abilities. That's the way it seems like it's going to work, but I don't know for sure. This is something that I'm really hoping that they do some massive changes to, but let's go ahead and read through what we have so far. So the first one in the shapeshifting tree is going to be damage reduction against nearby enemies is increased by 30%, and that's with it fully maxed out. The next one is going to be predatory instincts, which is 1 out of 5 with deal 3% increased damage to nearby enemies, so that's going to stack up to 15%. The next one we have is Ironhide. While in werebear form, damage reduction is increased by 5%. That'll stack up to 25%, and this bonus persists for 3 seconds after leaving werebear form. The next one is Lupine Swiftness, and that one is going to stack 5 times once again. While in werebear form, or werewolf form rather, speed is increased by 5%, so 25 overall, and then this bonus persists for 3%. So it seems like they're going to want you to shift and shift and shift, like phase shift constantly, power shifting. The next one is Overpower, so up to an 8% chance on hit to knock down slowed enemies for 1 second, and that's 8% over 5, so that's what? Is that 40%? That's pretty decent. Oh, I guess I missed Call of the Wild. Your critical strike chance is increased by 8% against your wolf's focus target, or I guess you get all of these, and it just depends on which pet you're using. Raven's passive attacks make enemies vulnerable for 20% of the damage dealt. That's not very much. Really, if you look at the Raven's damage and then 20% of the damage that they do, very, very low. But we're reading through right now. I'll try to keep my opinions out of it. Vine Creeper duration is increased by 8%, so those both stack up to 40, and then that stacks up to 100. So, I mean, even 100%, it's still, I don't know, I guess, actually, I don't know, maybe, So Rabid Strikes, which is 0 out of 5, and I read through Overpower already. Yeah, that's the 8% slowed for 1 second, or up to 40% chance to slow. So next one, Rabid Strikes. Your werewolf's skills poison the target for 3% up, so it's 15% of the damage dealt over 5 seconds. You know, I guess with a lot of we're not theory crafting. Hunt the Weak. Critical strike chance is increased by 6% against the poison enemy while shapeshifted, so that'll stack up to 30%. Scent of Blood, deal 4% increased damage to crowd-controlled enemies, which is going to stack up to 20%. Feral Spirit, critical strike damage is increased by 6% for 4 seconds, so 30% for 4 seconds after using a shapeshifting skill. So yes, power shifting. If you're going to be shapeshifting, you're going to essentially be constantly power shifting. So they say you can shift into a form and stay there, but I don't think that's really true. Whatever. We're just here to read. So the two options that you have as your final one is going to be Quick Shift or Storm and Claw. So Quick Shift, after shapeshifting into a different form, your next skill deals 30% increased damage, and then Storm and Claw, while Hurricane or Cataclysm is active, shapeshifting skills deal an additional 40% damage as lightning. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at the other skill tree. The other one is going to be for your Earth and your Storm magic. So first one we have is Abundance, which is basic skills generate 25% more Spirit with 5 out of 5. Next one is going to be Natural Balance. Earth and Storm abilities that consume Spirit restore 1%, so 5% life. Eye of the Storm, critical strikes with Storm skills increase the critical strike chance of non-Storm skills by 25% for 3 seconds. Ancestral Fortitude, increase your non-physical resistance by 40%. Elemental Exposure, jeez. Targets hit by Spirit skills become vulnerable for 30% of the damage dealt. The next one we have is Natural Resistance. Earth and Storm skills deal 10% increased damage. That's potentially okay. What is that? Resonance? Yeah, Primal Resonance. There we go. Fucking tired. Earth skills deal 6% increased crushing blow, so that's 30%. Oh, that's pretty good. Endless Tempest, looking over on the right above me, right there, that one. Increase the duration of Hurricane and Cataclysm by 30%. The one right below it, which is going to be Undergrowth, increase the duration of crowd control effects by 30%. Earthbind, hit effect. Earth skills have up to a 25% chance to immobilize enemies for 3 seconds. That's pretty good. Fury of Nature, which enemies hit by Earth and Storm skills have up to a 20% chance to take 100% increased critical strike damage from you for 5 seconds. It's pretty powerful. Storm skills deal 50% increased damage to vulnerable targets, or Earth and Might. So these are your two final, sorry. Perfect Storm is one of them, which is Storm skills deal 50% increased damage to vulnerable targets, or Earth and Might, where enemies hit by Earth skills take 8% increased damage from Earth skills for 2 seconds, up to 40%. So, like I said, guys, with this video, all I wanted to do was look over all of the skills and all of the talents that are available for us to see now, just for the Druid. I've got 2 more videos like this coming out, one for the Barbarian, one for the Source, and then after that's all said and done, I will be doing my full opinion on this entire system. I'm sure you can tell kind of how I feel about it so far, but just stay tuned. We've got more coming. If you like this video, please consider liking. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. If you want to show any type of support or monetarily, there's links in the description below. If you want to join the Discord and talk to me directly on there, you can join there as well. Anyways, I'm out.